let's do some example 1 in the tutorial notes. So we want to find the inverse for matrix 1, 3 to 5. So what is the method to solve, how to use the method of ERO to solve these questions? So what is our target? This matrix A, let's say this is matrix A, and then we put it in the echelon form, which is the right side is the identity. So write down A and the identity on each side, and then what we need to do, we have to do the operation until we get the right side and the left side change from A to identity. So eventually the right side will change into inverse function of A. Okay, so let's do for this one. So write down in the echelon form, which is 1, 3 to 5, and then the right side will be the identity 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so how to do the ERO method? First step, we have to make sure for the first row, this is first row, this is second row. The first row, the leading diagonal is equal to 1. So for now, the leading diagonal is equal to 1. So we can just skip the first step. And then the second step, everything under the leading diagonal must be equal to 0. So these two need to be changed into 0. So how to make this equal to 0? So you cannot just subtract 2. Why? Because this 5 also will change. So what we need to do, we can apply the third method, which is adding a multiple of ith row. So for example, this is 2, right? So we have 1 on the top from the leading diagonal on the row 1 equal to 1. So how to get from 2 to with 1 equal to 0? So we know 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. How to get 2 from 1? So we just multiply with 2. So it will be row 2 here, the new row 2, applying the R2 minus 2 of R1 for all value on R2. What we will get on the right side? So the first row didn't change anything, so just change the second row. So 2 minus 2 of 1, so will be 0. And then 5 minus 2 of R1. What is R1 here? Is 3. So what we will get? 5 minus 6, which is negative 1. So here is negative 1. And then from here, 0 minus 2, right? So second row is 0 minus 2 of first row is 1. So you get negative 2 here. And then the last one, 1 minus 2 of 0. So 1 minus 2 of 0 equal to 1, still 1. So we change this first column. Okay, the next step is, so we stop here. We didn't have any element below the number 1 on the leading diagonal of row 1. Okay, so what we need to do, the next one is to change the second leading diagonal. What is the second leading diagonal? This is the second leading diagonal, negative 1. So this is A11, right? So we need to change into 1, the same as the first leading diagonal. So what we can do for this one, so we didn't have to do operation between the two row because just multiple. So 0 here, multiple with anything will still be 0. So we still didn't change the first row, so just copy everything on the first row. So what we can do for the second row, so what is the operation? So we just, how to change negative 1 into 1? So we just multiply with negative 1. So the new R2 is equal to negative of R2, the previous R2. So 0, negative, so still 0. Negative 1 multiplied by negative will be 1. Negative 2 multiplied with negative 1 will be 2. And 1 multiplied with negative 1 will be negative 1. Okay, so we have this part 1, 0, 1. We left with this value, which is equal to 3. How to get 0 from here? So we have 3, and then we cannot multiply with 0. Why? Because if we multiply with 0, everything here will be 0. So what we can do, we can do the operation with the another row. So we have 3, and then we have 1 on the second row here, right? So what we should do to get 0 from 3 ni? So it should be 3 minus 3, right? So it can be 3 minus 3 multiplied by 1. So what we can write down for the new first row, so it will be, what is 3? 3 is the row 1 minus with multiple of 3 of row 2. So we can just copy for the row 2 because we didn't change anything for row 2, and do the changing for the row 1. So for this element, it will be 1 minus 3 multiplied by 0. So it still be 1. So we didn't change anything because the bottom one is equal to 0. And then for this one, 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 minus 3 multiplied by 1 is equal to 0. And then for this one is 1 minus 3 multiplied by the second row is 2. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5. And then the last one is 0 minus 3 of negative 1. What is this? So it will be 3. So now what we get on the left side is an identity. So if here is A identity, then we get identity on the left side. So the right side should be our A inverse. So what is our A inverse? So A inverse is equal to negative 5, 3, 2, negative 1. So this is our answer for A inverse for this example.